Design serves a purpose. That's what makes it design. And with graphic design, you're trying to communicate visually. So you're trying to reach a particular audience in a particular way on a particular platform. One of the formal design principles is known as value, and that's basically light and dark contrast. It's part of color theory, but it has a separate understanding beyond just dealing with color. Human beings see things in their visual field because of differences in light and dark. And when you don't have those differences, things are very hard to discern. You can't see as well. Think of trying to make out forms on a foggy evening versus at high noon on a very sunny day. The more light-shadow contrast you have, the more easily you can see the form. Where there's very little difference between lightness and darkness in a design or an image, you're not going to be able to see the details in it. When you have a broader range of value contrast, a bigger difference between light and dark, then you will be able to see more clearly and more quickly. And one thing about visual communication, you don't want to make it harder for the reader. When I saw this banner along the side of a road, and the traffic along that road is about 35 to 40 miles an hour, it's a 2-lane road. The colors are really cool. The problem is that the function on this doesn't work. And it doesn't work because it lacks value contrast. The differences between the lightness of the white and the darkness of the blue is minimal. So when a driver is speeding by at 40 miles an hour, this will impact them in terms of color. They'll notice it in relationship to its environment because the sign is a lot lighter than what's around it. But the sign itself cannot be read easily, and that's the problem. With signage, you want people to be able to read it, and in this case, it just does not work. And therefore, it's not good design. I have this open in Photoshop, and I'm going to go under Image, Adjustments, and then pick Hue Saturation. I'm going to take this slider and reduce the brightness of the color so that all we're seeing is the lightness and darkness. Hue, saturation, and lightness are properties or aspects of color. When we're dealing with light and RGB, these are what they're called. When we're dealing with CMYK or printed matter, it's hue, intensity, and this would be value. So I have now reduced the saturation. There's no chroma left, and all we're looking at is black and white and gray. If you look at this now and also squint your eye a little bit, close your eyes halfway so that you're letting in less light, you see how difficult it is to read this. It's not the chroma, it's not the brightness of the color that allows us to see form, it's the difference between light and dark. So we easily see the sign as a whole against the darker background. This all merges. This is a Kodak Tiffin grayscale, and I'm going to paste it here. This grayscale represents a full range or gamut of value. And as we compare the values of the sign to this, we'll see the darkest color is right down in here. This sign is using basically only 20 or 30% of the possibility of value contrast. Sometimes you want low value contrast. There are a lot of reasons why you would want to use a limited range of value. So a limited value range in and of itself is not a bad thing, but it depends upon the purpose or the function of the design. In this case, it doesn't work because it's a sign. If you want to advertise this, you need to make it visually distinct as something they can read very quickly and get the whole idea without having to slow down. If the sign doesn't have enough value contrast, it will not be noticeable when people are moving quickly. So rather than just leave with a critique, what I wanted to do was share what can be done to fix this, to actually increase the value contrast. And it would be very simple. We would just use this entire ground with a simple application of darker value. We can start creating a much more legible idea. So I'll just pick black. And I'll just fill very already you can see how much more visible the lettering becomes against the background. And it's something that can be read as you're driving by at 40 miles an hour.